From Old Country Bumpkin to Master Swordsman, adapted from Shigeru Sagazaki's light novel and animated by Passion and Hayabusa Film, is a fantasy action series streaming on Amazon Prime Video since April 5, 2025. Set in the Kingdom of Liberian, it follows Beryl Gardinant, a middle-aged sword instructor from a rural dojo thrust into the capital as a special instructor for the Liberian Order's Knights. Episode 6, The Old Man from the Countryside Faces the Dead, aired on May 10, 2025, and centers on Beryl's battle against a necromancer, Spur, to protect Mui and uncover a church conspiracy. I'm exhilarated by the episode's intense swordplay and Beryl's understated heroism, but its heavy-handed harem elements and rushed resolution invite scrutiny, promising a layered critique. Episode 5 saw Beryl rescue Mui, a magical child thief manipulated by the criminal Twilight, exposing a resurrection scam and prompting a raid on Twilight's hideout. Episode 6 escalates as Beryl, Alucia, and the Knights pursue Spur, a necromancer behind Twilight, who unleashes undead minions in the slums. Beryl's duel with Spur reveals the church's bishop seeking a dark miracle. Mui, now trusting Beryl, aids with her magic, and Beryl becomes her guardian, securing her a home. The episode ends with a royal summons for Beryl, hinting at palace intrigue. This shift from criminal schemes to supernatural and political threats deepens Beryl's capital arc. Episode 6 advances the conspiracy arcade by unveiling Spur's necromancy and the bishop's shadowy ambitions, a turning point marked by Beryl's fierce "I'll end your schemes" as he slices through undead, a moment I found electrifying. The defeat of Spur resolves the immediate threat from Episode 5's Twilight raid, while the royal summons and dark miracle hint raise questions about the church's influence and Beryl's role in Liberian's politics, aligning with the light novel's escalating stakes. The episode fulfills its role by blending action with plot progression, setting up a broader conflict. However, the pacing feels frenetic, rushing from the undead battle to Spur's defeat in minutes, a flaw I noticed in the abrupt resolution. I think the church conspiracy adds intrigue, but I didn't like the royal summons vagueness, which feels like a tacked-on cliffhanger. Beryl, Mui, Alucia, and Spur are central, with minor roles for Karuni and Hemblitz. Beryl's resolute "Mui's safe with me" reveals a paternal protectiveness consistent with his Episode 1 mentorship, marking growth as he embraces guardianship, a facet I found heartwarming. Mui's hesitant "I trust you, Beryl" unveils a fragile hope, building on her Episode 5 despair, a shift I appreciated. Alucia's commanding "Knights, forward" reinforces her leadership, though her flirtatious asides feel forced, a weakness I noted. Spur's manic "the dead obey me" introduces a theatrical villainy, but his quick defeat limits depth. Their actions align with prior portrayals, but the harem dynamics, Karuni's giggling Beryl's "so cool," distract from Mui's arc. I really appreciate Beryl's warmth, but I wish Spur had more backstory as his role feels one-dimensional. The episode explores duty, redemption, and the corruption of power. Beryl's guardianship of Mui and battle against Spur underscore duty as a selfless act, a theme conveyed through his relentless swordplay resonating with the series' mentor ethos. Redemption emerges as Mui finds trust, her magic aiding Beryl, symbolizing her healing, a motif I found touching. The bishop's dark miracle hints at power's corruption, tying to Liberian's political underbelly. The harem tropes risk cheapening these themes, a flaw I noticed in Alucia's unnecessary flirting. I'm inspired by the duty theme, but I personally don't understand why the harem elements persist, which could have been toned down to sharpen the redemption arc. The episode enriches Liberian's world by introducing necromancy as a forbidden art, with Spur's undead legion expanding on Episode 5's magical lore, a detail I found chilling. The church's involvement and the royal summons hint at a complex political hierarchy, building on the series' knightly order structure, a concept I anticipate will deepen. However, I didn't like how the bishop's motives were vague, leaving the conspiracy abstract, a flaw that muddies the world's stakes. The slum's gritty chaos feels vivid, but clearer magical and political rules would ground the narrative. The dialogue is serviceable but leans on cliches, with Beryl's "evil won't prevail" carrying earnest conviction and Mui's "I'm not scared anymore" landing with quiet strength, moments I found impactful. Spur's "bow to the dead" feels cartoonish, undermining his menace, a flaw I noticed in villain scenes. The writing excels in the battle's urgency but falters in harem banter, like Karuni's Beryl, my hero, which feels like light novel filler, a weakness I found grating. I think the emotional exchanges ground the plot, but I didn't like the trope-heavy villain lines which sap the conspiracy's weight. Passion and Hayabusa Film's animation shines in action, with Beryl's duel against Spur, blades clashing amid CG undead, rendered with dynamic flair, a sequence I found thrilling, praised for its CG integration online. Director Akio Kazumi crafts a tense mood with a high-angle shot of Spur's undead horde amplifying dread, a choice I found masterful. predictable. A rapid cut to Beryl's strike against Spur fuels intensity, but lingering harem shots disrupt flow, a flaw I felt broke the rhythm. The old man from the countryside faces the dead evokes excitement, warmth, and mild irritation. The Beryl-Spur duel, with flashing blades and undead chaos, is exhilarating, a moment I found unforgettable, while Mui's trust stirs heartwarming relief, tying to her redemption arc. The harem banter and rushed climax spark frustration, a flaw I felt keenly. The episode prompts reflection on duty as a selfless act, aligning with the series' mentor core, and its action lingers. I also anticipate the royal summons will test Beryl's humility. The swordplay thrills, but the trope's great. The episode's core philosophical lesson is that true strength lies in protecting the vulnerable. Beryl's guardianship of Mui and battle against Spur suggests that duty, rooted in humility, surpasses personal ambition, a lesson embodied in his selfless stand. This insight invites viewers to consider how mentorship and sacrifice shape resilience, a profound reflection for navigating responsibility. Episode 6 of From Old Country Bumpkin to Master Swordsman is a thrilling, heartfelt chapter that excels in Beryl's heroism, Hirata's performance, and the duty theme, weaving a fantasy tale with earnest stakes. Its strengths lie in the dynamic duel, Mui's redemption, and the conspiracy's intrigue, bolstered by Passion's action craft. However, rushed pacing, harem cliches, and vague plot hooks hinder depth, flaws I found limiting. I didn't like the fanservice focus, and I think tighter writing could balance action with nuance. The episode achieves its goal of advancing the conspiracy and deepening Beryl's role, but stumbles with trope-heavy execution, making it a rousing, flawed gem. I'm optimistic for the series, expecting the royal arc and Beryl's mentorship to elevate its action and emotional stakes. For fantasy and swordplay fans, this is a gritty, uneven thrill.